Into the thick of things, we are very proud to announce that ahead of the G20 summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to money control, and he's also said that it's a sign that the Troika is Indonesia, India and Brazil, developing nations, and the story, the voice of the global south, the voice of the developing nations are with this Troika, and India wants to play a pivotal role. And I think we are going to just further take that forward. And here we have the Prime Minister speaking to money control, and let's go straight across to the person who's currently quite literally in the thick of all the action, and he's taken the time out to speak with us, Sherpa Amitabh Kant, the Sherpa of G20 in its for India in its years as President or Chair. Amitabh Kant ji, namaste, thank you very, very much. Regret the slight delay in coming across to you, and you've just stepped out of a meeting to make sure that you speak to the network you love so much. So I have to thank you for that. My first question to you, is India poised to be perhaps the voice of the global south? Are we going to achieve that objective?
Advocated the voice of both the developing markets and the emerging markets. Before we started our presidency, the Prime Minister had a meeting with about 125 leaders of the global south, and based on what they had to say, we formed our priorities. All our key priorities are based on the inputs received. If you would later see the discussion, all through the ministerials, the voice of the global south has been the common theme all through. We strongly believe that developing countries are the key to the future of the world. This year, 80% of the growth is coming from emerging markets. The IMF has said that in the next 2 decades, 2/3 of the growth will come from emerging markets because the demographics in these countries are very young. The population in the West is aging. The Prime Minister, for the first time, has requested all the countries to agree to the African Union becoming a permanent invitee. This is in the process of getting discussed out, and our leaders will take a final call. But this will be a very unique moment that the G20 will really speak the voice of the global south. 6 of the fastest growing 12 nations in the world today are from Africa, and making African Union a permanent member will be truly the voice of the global south as far as India's presidency is concerned.
Is that top on your to-do list, and how has it been so far with the negotiations, sir? How easy or difficult has it been? Is this conversation perhaps some time out amidst very, very strong engagements with all the nations, the Sherpas of all the nations?
Yeah, the Sherpa meeting is going on. These are very, very tough, very complex negotiation on a range of issues because every single word is negotiated on. There are 29 countries, 20 G20 countries plus the 9 invitee countries. Then you have a lot of international organizations. All of them are a part of this negotiating process. Bringing everyone to a consensus is critical. Every country has a veto power, and therefore it's important in multilateral discussions to bring everybody on board. This is a very, very complex and a complicated job, but there we are. India has done this throughout the year very successfully, and we are hopeful of what the Prime Minister has termed as a very ambitious, very inclusive, very decisive, and a very action-oriented presidency, and a very forward-looking New Delhi leaders' declaration.
Amitabh ji, I know you are joining us remotely, but in this audience, we also have High Commissioners, envoys of various nations, a lot of them members of the G20. As I say good evening to all of them, they're also listening to every word that you speak. So let me ask you, if you can hear me clearly, let me ask you, will India be able to achieve consensus across the board? Will we be able to assume the role of a bridge nation?
So let me, Anand, first say that throughout the year we have focused on key developmental issues of growth issues. the developing countries and the emerging markets, for them today growth is critical, development is important, inclusive growth is critical. Because, the post-COVID era has seen a vast number of people go below poverty line. A huge number of people have lost their jobs. 1/3 of the world is in recession. 75 countries are facing a global debt crisis. So the developmental issues are important. Strong, sustainable, inclusive, balanced growth is critical. Pushing action on the sustainable development goals is critical because only 12 of the 169 SDGs are on track. So you need a specific action plan for 2030. Instead of progressing, we have regressed. Then you need action on climate finance, climate action. And for all this, you need resources. And therefore, you need multilateral institutions of the 21st century. You need technological innovation, and you need digital public infrastructure to drive growth and bring financial inclusion. And lastly, one of the key priorities of our Prime Minister has been women-led development. How do you bring women empowerment, gender equality? All these have been the key priorities for us. We are very confident and hopeful of bringing a consensus on all these key and critical developmental issues. As far as geopolitics is concerned, we've kept it on the side because it's important for us to drive development and not geopolitics. But we are very hopeful that we'll be able to discuss with all our friends here and find a solution to even geopolitics. We are not a part of the present crisis. It's an important issue for the West, but not for the developing countries. But we plan to bring everybody together and find a resolution forward.
You talked about the Africa Union, or the nations from the continent of Africa. Africa itself, across nations, is witnessing a lot of strife. There is also geopolitics as part of trying to maintain, with nations wanting to maintain their economic hegemony, using the Africa nations and their resources as a base. Now, is there a consensus that this has to be stopped, that Africa nations should be allowed to engage directly? And also, is there a consensus on the first right to resources for the developing nations, Amitabh ji?
Yeah, so the proposal of the Prime Minister has had a very wide support amongst all countries. Let me tell you, all the developed countries across the region have supported the Prime Minister's proposal. This is at an advanced stage of discussion right now, but I'm very sure that the leaders would look forward, leaders would probably announce it. They would look forward to having African Union as a permanent member. And as far as development, resource utilization, and as far as growth, progress, using technology for development, all these are critical issues. This particular statement will have more on developing countries and emerging markets and the voice of the Global South than any declaration ever held. And therefore, my view is that this statement will be truly the voice of the Global South. This statement will really reflect the concerns of the developing countries and the emerging market. And this particular statement will truly attempt to make a quantum jump for the Global South as far as international development is concerned.
I'm aware that the statement is work in progress, but how much of it has been achieved in terms of consensus? Can we say we are 70% there already with respect to the draft, sir?
And I wouldn't like to, I would merely say that we are very positive, we are very optimistic. A lot of hard work is going into this, very complex, very tough negotiations are going on round the clock. These start early morning at about 7 o'clock, they go on all night. We have several bilateral meetings, we have very tough, complex negotiations. So I would merely say that we are well on the path to moving forward. We are very optimistic, we are very positive that we'll be able to achieve success in a very big way. But I would merely say that this is work in progress right now.
2 p.m. to 2 a.m. is what you had told me when we just spoke the other day. But in the process of the democratization of G20 in Bharat, PM has actually spoken about it when he spoke to us here at Money Control. How much of it has enabled the youth of our country also not just showcase themselves in terms of potential to the entire world, the G20 nations? How has it been received by the G20 nations?
Well, we've done our presidency very differently than any other country. In most countries, it is held in one city or two cities. The Prime Minister's view is that we should take it to, his view was that we should take it to all states of India. We took it to all states. We took it to 60 cities. We took it to the schools, the colleges, the university. We held model G20s. We had several quiz contests. We had a vast number of interactions, and actually students and, all schools, colleges, everybody participated in G20 in a very big way, and therefore my view is that it's been truly a people's presidency. For the first time, G20 was a people's presidency.
Any memories that you would like to share on a lighter note that you would take away from this last whole year that's gone by, especially as Sherpa?
Oh, well, we've had, there are a huge number of very fascinating memories, because this was really used as an opportunity to get into the backwaters of Kerala, to explore the Vijayanagaram Empire, which is the fountainhead of Hindu civilization at Hampi. We were able to clean up the lakes in Udaipur, and everywhere the local citizens were involved in this. We were able to do a lot of boost to travel and tourism. All our hotels are packed right now. We were able to give a huge fillip to one district, one products, the local arts and artisans. We were able to really give a massive push to millets all along. And to my mind, what we've done is really use this opportunity to push the soft brand of all the states of India. So this has been used as an opportunity to provide a multiplier impact to India's economy.
Any of your counterparts who walked up to you and said, Mr. Kant, I have a different view of India now. Thank you for showing me all of Bharat?
Oh, well, all of them. Every single person who has come has become our brand ambassador. The soft power of India has truly been on display. Every single visitor here, over 100,000 people, delegates who came here, they're all our ambassadors today, and each one of them is sending about 10 to 15 people more. So the word of mouth publicity has been enormous. They truly realize what a great country India is, in terms of its heritage, in terms of its culture, in terms of its travel, in terms of its tourism. It's just been a phenomenal experience for each one of them.
Some are coming, some are not coming, some are sending premiers. Is that all going to make an effect or have an impact on the final declaration, sir, the communique? My final question to you.
So Anand, in every presidency, you normally have some heads of states not able to come. But even in Bali, you didn't have President Putin there. Several states, Italy just had about 14 heads of states. So this happens. This is a regular part of it. But the process of negotiations, the process of putting the leader's statement, that's all done very seriously. There is some head of the state or other always, there are foreign ministers, there are many other ministers who are always there. And I think what you will see is a real galaxy of top leaders in Delhi. This will be the biggest gathering of leaders in Delhi.
So you're sure that we will do better than Indonesia in terms of the final...
We'll do better than any other presidency. We'll work, we've done a very professional job throughout the year, and we are very hopeful that our outcomes will be many more. We are very confident that India's presidency will be a unique landmark in the history of G20.
Well, on that note, sir, I'll let you go. I've got the indication that you are hard-pressed for time, but I sincerely appreciate and thank you on behalf of CNN News 18 and the network for making this time. All the very, very best. Wish you all the best, sir. Good luck. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amitabh Kant ji.
Thank you.